Hello and welcome to Let's Talk with Matt and Johnny. In season 2, we're inviting inspiring guests onto the show to talk about their journey and how they can influence others. We're really happy to have Kate Ovens on the show this week to talk about her food challenges, the pressure she faces being a popular face on social media, and the future for her journey. Some of Kate's posts have over 2 million hits, and we wanted to see what type of pressure comes along with that. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and we hope you enjoy.
Hello guys, welcome back to Let's Talk with Matt and Johnny, and today's guest, Kate Ovens, social media queen. We're going to have a little chat with her. We've got a few questions we're going to ask. So Kate, welcome to our podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on. And queen, that's like, that's a title I'm not worthy of completely.
Statement right there.
Jester, or like pauper or something, you know, that's more accurate.
Kate, if you sort of start us off, a little introduction of where you are with life at the moment. Obviously, we're going through a weird time with COVID and stuff. But you know, what's your job? What's your role? Tell us a little bit about yourself before we dig in.
So, hi, I'm Kate. I am I guess jump straight to it. I am probably mainly known for doing the like man versus food challenges. I do present a lot of sort of food style videos online, like mainly on Facebook. I'm on YouTube, Instagram. I'm basically popping up all over your timeline, and I'm really sorry about that. But no, it's sort of like food blogging, I guess, is probably one of the titles I'd go by. It's sort of from the food challenges. For some reason, people have asked, you know, trust my taste buds. So I get messages all the time, and then it ended up like working with brands and things like that, and sort of, you know, I understand that like during COVID, the first couple of months was pretty dead. I mean, I had to keep checking my email box to make sure that it was still working. But I wasn't blessed to be like one of those ones where, you know, work was steadily coming through. I think just everything went to a halt right at the start, and it was completely understandable. I was being approached by some like very, very big companies, and they were sort of like, we got on really well, like me and the PR and everything. And they were approaching me to be like, we do have stuff coming out in April. And I was like, probably not the best time to promote this massive world leader corporate brand kind of thing, whilst all my favorite independents are going down the toilet. Because this was like, you know, before the whole like government scheme, and they weren't pressuring me at all. They were like, no, we completely understand. Like, we would never ask you to do something that wasn't comfortable with you. So I retreated back to my parents quite early on, and I basically found my whole like old gaming stash, and like I didn't do any work, just played like Roller Coaster Tycoon and like Crash Bandicoot for weeks.
It sounds like the dream to me, and that just sounds incredible. Just literally just tuck yourself away and just playing retro games sounds incredible. Yeah,
it was kind of like tucking myself away, but then I was like, I do still need to kind of keep this presence up. So there's me like handing over the camera to my mum, being like, hi mum, can you just take a picture of me like playing Crash? But people seem to quite like it, which sort of made me realize, I was like, maybe I should start getting into this again.
Yeah, be a gamer.
I don't think I've got the like expressiveness to be a gamer. It would just be me there in complete silence, blank face, and anytime I die. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah,
just like uttering the word fuck under my breath, like it wouldn't be exciting. I think, you know, I'd probably look like, I always find that if I ever like I'm upset, I remind myself of like Simon from The Inbetweeners. You know, when he gets really, really agitated, like that, it would be more like I'd get more views because of how pathetic I am, not for being a good gamer or anything like that. So it does worry me a little about that whole sphere. I'm going to leave gamers to gaming to the gamers.
Yeah. And what really, obviously you're now known for all of this, and you're getting like massive hits on some of the stuff. I mean, I've just some of the videos that are even on your Facebook, you're getting like 2 million hits and stuff. It's absolutely crazy. And well done for that. You've obviously, you know, it's really, really good. But what made you go into it? What kind of made you think, oh, this is what I want to try and do?
I like, it sort of started as I don't know, I was watching Man vs. Food at the time. I think this was maybe around about like the age of 16. And I was never the fat kid growing up. I was always like on the slightly chubbier side. I was always bigger than all the girls in my year, like height wise and things. And I always was just like, I carried weight with me. I wasn't a lucky one that just didn't seem to gain a pound. I definitely did. And it sort of started from like, I started dieting around the age of like 16, 17. And as I was dieting, I was practically torturing myself by watching things like Man vs. Food. And like, there were YouTubers doing it. There weren't like many, but there were a few. So I was, you know, blitzing through all of their videos, just like late up at night, starving, you know, wanting something ridiculous to eat or whatever. And I was watching these videos and I was like, I really think I can do this. And I gave a couple a go, and one of like the main one that kind of went viral was the one that kind of got picked up by Lab Bible. And then I started having friends being like, you should really make a page for this. And like, this wasn't really, I think this was my second year of uni, so like 2014. So it wasn't really that kind of like time of, you know, there's a lot of people on Instagram now. It's much more common to kind of promote yourself and things. At the time, there just wasn't that many people. And I just didn't have the guts to kind of be like, I'm going to make a page all about me kind of thing. It just seemed very arrogant and a bit cringy. And it took me about a year to like sort of build up the courage to do it. But as I started doing it, like I told my very, very close group of friends, but I didn't like, you know, it's like you've got peers and you've got friendship groups, but it's not like I did just like the casual like invite all button. I was terrified of what other people would think about it. And I know that, you know, people probably talked about it behind my back during the early stages, because I think everyone's, you know, if you're putting yourself out there, you're opening yourself up to criticism. And it's kind of funny because obviously with everything that came now, it's just like, I kind of just wish I started earlier and just, you know, but you grow up, you learn and everything, and you watch what other people do and sort of take in from that. So everything happens for a reason. But yeah, I kind of wish I'd started it all earlier.
So just touching on the social media stuff then, Kate, would you say you're a confident person? So before the whole social media, before starting this up, would you say you were a confident individual?
Yes and no. I think it was like, I'm confident when I'm surrounded by the people that I'm comfortable with, but like me walking into I don't know, it's like me walking into a room of like new people. I was excited to meet them, but like I wasn't the most like sort of going in and being, you know, I knew exactly where I was going and what I was doing. I was fumbling all over the place. I had no idea. I mean, the whole way through uni, I sucked pretty much, just like academically, everything. I just sucked. And I think through social media and like sort of having people jump on board to something that I've always found, you know, I've always loved the challenges, and I always thought it was my weird like little niche going off into the internet and finding these guys in America and stuff. And then sort of as time's gone on, more and more people have like appreciated this side of it, and it's kind of like, oh, like I'm not crazy.
Yeah, sure. In terms of like social media, like everyone's got their own opinion of how they feel about social media. So like recently, I've just literally took a week off social media because it was just too much. Like I had to post all the time on stories. Now, does it affect you every now and then? Do you get that? Oh, do you feel that you need to post a story or post content? I know like some of the branded stuff. Yeah, okay, that's part of your job. But do you feel pushed? Feel the pressure?
Yes and no. Like yes in some senses and no in others as well. Like what we do is completely different. I feel like yours is like a real thing that you need to, you know, like kind of keep online, keep pushing, and you know, it's not just you who you're looking after. Like you're looking after like a whole team of people. It's kind of like they look to you to being the person. So I can understand like the guilt that you'd feel with that. Whereas with me, it's very egotistical. Like it's just me kind of thing. I can sort of swan off and no one gets affected type thing. So I guess there's probably less guilt in terms of that. But with with social media, like, you know, you've always got to be concerned that like brands are going to be looking at your page, and like if your engagement's good, and you know what kind of things does your audience want to see. Like I've noticed that they which sucks, like they don't want to see my friends, and I'm like, but I love my friends kind of thing. And it's like, you know, I want to post it, but they might not want to see it, and there's nothing wrong with posting that. But with, obviously, as you guys probably all know about social media and things, it's kind of like if you do a couple of like wrong posts and the algorithm starts pushing you down, and it's just all this kind of like stuff that you think about, so you always try and think to be on top of your game. But I've taken time off, like I said, I think I differ from a lot of people, because mine is so just about me, whereas yours is a real business. Like you do have other people to like look after and think of the consequences in like terms of that, so I can understand the complete guilt. But I won't lie to you, like my old flatmate, who's like my best friend in the world, we've lived together for like 3 years and stuff, and then she had this like sudden amazing opportunity to move to Australia, and I just got really upset. There was no other reason, and I pretty much just came off social media for like a month, and I was just like, yeah, not even gonna, you know, barely explain anything. I'm just like, I'm just upset, I've got to try and find a new housemate. Wasn't having a good time. Like she was working stupidly hard. I kept just retreating home, and like I sort of did a comeback post where I was like, hi, like just to let you know why I've not really posted. My best mate's left. Kind of upset, but it's all okay, and I'll crack on. Like I think I give myself way more breaks than most people on social media.
I'll be interested to know, like, do you get many like the negative side of social media, like the trolls, the people, like how do you deal with bad comments and messages you might get? I don't know if you get many, I don't know, yeah, but how do you deal with that?
So I personally, like, I'm very, very lucky, and I'll touch wood completely, because I don't know whether it's down to I'm not big time enough to get that much hatred or anything. I really don't get hate messages at all from anybody. The only time that I do get it though is if, say, one of my challenges blows up on, you know, the press and things, and then you hit the Daily Mail, and let's be honest,
newspapers. Yeah,
Daily Mail commenters don't like anybody. So
yeah.
you've just got to kind of like take some of the criticism with a, you know, pinch of salt and things like that, and just, you know, years ago a lot of it would get to me. I think there's been only a couple of times where it's gotten to me. Like people have talked about, you know, it's like I can understand when they say like, oh, you know, wait till this all catches up on her, because that's like hypothetical type thing. But it's when they sort of say like, she's gained weight since like 2 years ago, and it's like, oh god, that's really pissed me, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, credit where credit's due for not getting a huge amount of that, because it's a massive thing in social media, and social media influencers and stars of social media who've grown their business on it. Like we were talking about it in a couple of podcasts ago, but I think it's just a very challenging, but the fact you deal with it like that, do you actually sit there and read the Daily Mail comments, or do you like, no, I'm not going to read it, I'm not interested?
I won't lie to you, I definitely sit there and read them. Like, I'm so terrible for it. But it has kind of played benefit to me on one occasion that I can remember, which was basically so sort of back a few years before sort of even all this kind of like food stuff. I used to be a kids entertainer. So I used to dress up as like Elsa and go to kids parties. I did that for about 3 years. And I was going through one of these like Daily Mail commenters. It was on like Facebook or something, and the top comment that got like you know about 9 likes or something was saying, you know, you're such an awful role model to girls and all this, that and the other. Bear in mind, my audience is like 70% male. Everyone is aged 25 to 34. Like, to be honest, if you're listening to me at this point, you should probably know better. But she was like, you're, you know, such a bad influence towards girls, and, you know, you're wasteful, and like all this, that and the other. And I saw, you know, being a bit of a, just a general girl, you have to know a little bit more. So I was like, I really recognize her name. So I clicked on her profile, and I was like, you look incredibly familiar. So I responded back, and I was like, hi, let's call her Melissa, because I genuinely can't remember her name. Like, Hey Melissa, I hope you're well. I'm so sorry that you think that way, because actually it was me who was dressed up as Elsa at your daughter's birthday party not too long ago. And not only did you come up to me saying how wonderful I was, but also you gave me a huge tip. So,
Oh my God, that's
like,
incredible.
I didn't go into her. I didn't do
wow.
anything or whatever. But like, I was like, I'm so sorry that you feel that way, but like, don't judge the 0.4% that you've seen online because you don't know about everything else type thing. And she deleted the comment.
That's incredible.
So yeah, I do read them, but like you see a lot of the same comments come up. It's the same things. It's this, they think they're being so witty, and I'm like, I saw this 6 years ago. This isn't exciting anymore. Like it doesn't really hit home anymore. Yeah, I don't know. It's something that I think if anyone puts themselves out on social media, you do need to expect that not everyone is going to like you, which is 100% true. I don't go into every situation thinking, wow, and I'm someone who tries so hard. I'm like, I want everyone to like me, like even a fraction. So like it just depends, but it also depends on the industry as well. Like I found that the food and drink industry, everyone's lovely. Like everyone that I've spoken to, I'd say there's probably about 1% of people that I've met within this industry that I have a problem with. And even if I do have a problem with them, I still find something good about like something that they do, that they're either like very good at what they do, but I don't like their attitude, or it's never completely like just pure hatred type thing. Whereas I'm sure it might be different in other industries. So I think it's trying not to take it too much to heart and trying not to like read too much into it. But it's hard, like I'm saying this now, but I've had years of experience with it, so I don't know. I feel like 14-year-old me would crumble.
Yeah, well, fun enough, you say that. Actually, I was just going to say that we, as Sanjay said, we talked about this in a previous podcast of actually, the positives and negatives of social media. That there's so many positives of kind of going, you can do what you want, you can put this image across, you can all this kind of stuff. But also there's so many of these people, these negative comments, and we did mention the Daily Mail as one thing, because that was such a big thing that you actually have no control over. You don't have control over those comments or what content's being put out, and exactly. And, and it is hurtful because they're attacking you personally, but it is the way that you're dealing with that is great. And I think the thing is that a lot of people, even just on their own posts on Instagram or Facebook and stuff, they'll look at those comments, they will take them to heart. And and youngsters do, males and females will look at that and think, oh my God, like, is there something wrong with me? Like, why don't these people like me? I'm just putting up a picture because that's why.
And like, especially if you think that it's a majority, when like the top comment is the most liked type thing, you're like, oh my gosh, everyone thinks this. Like, it's not just this one person. It's all these other people who may not be outspoken enough to leave a comment, but they're all liking it to show that they agree with it. And so sort of like that's scary in itself. And like the only way, and I know this is very much like the 101 kind of what every person, I'm sure everyone on social media would say to you, is to deal with it. Write a response and don't send it. It can literally be so therapeutic. I've sent responses, well, sent. I've like done responses that have been like this big, like attacking every single line, saying, how wrong they are and things like that. And then you just delete it and you do feel so much better, because it's just kind of like it's in the universe in a way, but it's not, because they have no idea. And you don't want to feed them either, because I find that the people who leave those negative comments, if they've taken the time to like let you know that they're thinking negatively about it, like, don't get me wrong, I think everyone knows that they're being bitched about behind their back at some point. It's just, someone to actively be negative and know that that person's going to see it as well. You've just kind of got to be like, well, to be honest, there's something clearly more going on here. So
you've got to be quite thick-skinned, right?
Pardon, sorry?
You've got to be quite thick-skinned, really.
Yes and no, because I don't think I'm like, one of those people who can go into a situation and be like, I don't care if no one likes me. Like, I still want everyone to like me. So it's kind of a weird sensation of like thick-skinned, where it's almost like you've just kind of got to accept it, but like that still doesn't mean that you need to take everything, if that makes sense. Like if you're getting criticized for like absolutely everything, you know, there's something clearly not quite right. You know, you need to step away from social media at that point for a bit, because that's not going to do you, like, that's going to mentally mess with you completely. Like,
But I also think if people are spreading hate on social media and commenting, they're coming from a place of hate. So it's kind of their issue as well. It's one thing that I know I speak about all the time. Gary Vee says, like, anyone that, you know, comments hate, he just shows them empathy and thanks them for their time. They spent their time and they're spreading their hate from within them. So
I love how patronizing that is as well. Just like,
yeah.
thank you so much for your
Like,
time. Like, you imagine the person that you like loathe or whatever is thanking you for an angry comment. Like, how much more upsetting that is to to have. That's such a great method of doing it, because you're patronizing them, but you're coming across as the better person. Like, that's the best way to do it.
But also, if there's someone else is spreading hate or negative comments, it shows whatever you're doing on social media is working, because it's reaching them from an organic way. It's reaching them. So there's that point as well.
Absolutely. And like, there's only one person who's kind of like push my buttons, I'd say, and it's a guy on, you know, I'm not even going to say which platform, because I know that he's one of these people that thrives off of the negativity. Like, I went through some of his profile and he's got like, you know, he's very sexist, he's got like all of like so many weird problems about him. And then I mean, this is like a rarity type thing, but like this guy literally, I think he's mental, because like I was reading through like, I stalked back a while back. I was really intrigued to know more about this guy. And he'd been kicked out of a club by this girl. Like, this was all for me to read on Twitter. Like, it was easy to find and everything. He'd been kicked out of this club by this girl, and this girl had like done this tweet, and he was so like, is narcissistic the right word? Like, he was so narcissistic about it that he retweeted it. And like, he'd gotten a screenshot of her being like, this guy's a creep, getting kicked out of the club and everything. And he'd taken her tweet and got it printed on a shirt and retweeted the whole thing. I was just like, this kid is mental. Like,
What?
That's pretty extreme.
Jail at some point. It's just, it's so strange. And he's like, and that's kind of, any time that I see someone who like leaves comments that are similar to him, I'm just like, they're nuts.
Yeah.
Try not to listen to the haters. They're weirdos.
Yeah, exactly. And like I say, you know, there's and thankfully, you know, you're getting a lot of love on your posts as well, and a lot of people that, you know, are, you know, congratulating you on your journey and everything that you're doing so far and everything else, and the journey that you've been on over the last, you know, 5-6 years. That's good to hear. So
yeah, and like, I really, you know, and trying to show my appreciation as much, I try and get back to all the comments that I can. Like, obviously every platform is completely different, but on Instagram I do try and make sure that I get back to them, because even if it's as little as like leaving, you know, wow, that looks amazing, that's still taking the time to put that comment on there, you know, to fill the appreciation. So I do try my best to kind of give back as much as I get, because I mean, I would not be where I am without everyone who followed me. So like, you know, every prize goes back to the audience kind of thing. Like, it's not for me, I literally wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without having them. So I do try my best to kind of give back as much as I can to them.
Yeah. And this platform has opened other doors as well for you, hasn't it? I think, you know, for me, being a massive NFL fan as well, I'm super jealous of the opportunities you've been given. You knew this was coming. It's like, obviously the NFL stuff, like that's really cool. Like, so
I mean, I won't lie to you. Like, I think in every single NFL thing I've ever done is like, how on earth has Food Challenges got me to here? Like, I've like quoted that every time that I've gone to the NFL, because I'm like, this is absolutely ridiculous. But like, because of, like, I've always had my love for sport. I'm a big film fan. It's a big game today, so we're going to be watching that. But because like football and sport and food, they cross post like so much. Like the audiences who love their food love their sport as well. Because I'm a sports fan, it sort of opened up opportunities, because they're like, well, we know that your audience is going to like this, and we want to show them that. And they're obviously trying to show, you know, NFL UK games, they're becoming like more and more over the years. I think it started at like 2, 3, and then like over the years they're adding more. They've obviously added like the Tottenham Stadium and stuff, so they want to show people that it's like, you know, they want to show the wow factors and like how great it is, and you know what you can get with just being in the fan zone and food opportunities and like all this, that and the other. Like they want to show it. So that's kind of how I've had my routine, and I appreciate it every single time. Like I don't think I ever go to an NFL game where I'm like, you know, casual about it. I go in, I'm like so excited. It's one of my favorite things to do every single year, apart from this year when obviously you have tickets booked for this year or
I didn't this year, but yeah, it's definitely something that I've gone to pretty much every year, and it's, you know, being a massive fan of the sport and everything else, I think it's, you know, it's great that, like I say, that these opportunities have come out for you, just like I say, with a similar market and branching you out into different things. It's great, you know, it's awesome to kind of give you that opportunity.
One of those like pinch yourself moments. Like I think the first time I went as a guest of my friend David, who he works predominantly in the sports industry. He's, you know, he's like works for like with JD Sport, and he's like one of their main, and William Hill, he's like one of the main presenters there type thing. So I went at first as a guest, and I remember like going in and just literally like I did a Snapchat, like this was when Snapchat was like thriving still, and like I did this whole like Snapchat series of just like, it was just me to the camera like and it was me getting like slowly more and more pissed throughout the event. Like not classy at all, not business savvy, just me having a great time. And I was like, you know, you see NFL, like if you've not like had the sort of proper insight into the game and like you know, sort of really like looked at it, you can only kind of look at it from watching it in films and stuff. But when you see it for yourself, and when you're like within that atmosphere and you see like, you know, even just at an NFL UK game, like the amount of Americans who come over to watch their team, like that is passion. You would not see that in the championship. People going to Boston to go watch a game or something. Like they're just like, you know what, I'll catch it on telly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's you know, it's great that type of thing is like I said, has opened those doors for you, and hopefully, you know, something like that is for the future. And what you know, what does your future look like? Have you kind of thought about that, or are you kind of generally just taking it kind of day by day?
So it's sort of like kind of, because obviously I think my main kind of categories have been like sport, food. I don't know why I started with sport then. It's just like, that's not everything. So sorry, food, sport, and then like travel has started to kind of peak up a little bit more. Like I've always loved travel. Me and my flatmate is like the travel queen. So like how we did it was we do these really, really cheap holidays, and I'm talking like, it's amazing how much you can get out of like the cheapest flights, the cheapest hostel for a weekend, and people think that you've like lived this incredible life. And I'm like, it cost us 200 quid for both of us for the whole weekend kind of thing. It's amazing. I don't know how she finds these deals, because basically she does the flights and the accommodation. I find like the food, the drinks. So like we paired really, really well. And like when I went to like Prague, loads of people were like, you know, could you send me a list of everywhere that you went kind of thing? And I was just like, we did this on such a budget. Like, do you realize this? But no, so started like doing that, and travel is like the one that I'd quite like to get into. But this year, because over the last couple of years, like me and my flatmate have done so many places, and she just moved to Australia. So that was like her big move back in January, when I decided to just cop off social media. But I wanted to kind of take this time this year to really try and explore around like the UK, because I was like, there's so many amazing places. And don't get me wrong, COVID kind of emphasized that by like 2 million. I didn't realize that the only place I could explore was my hometown. But I went to Newcastle Uni, so I did like a food tour up there, because obviously a lot of people associate Newcastle with, you know, like Geordie Shore, drinking. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is an amazing nightlife scene. Like, I'm not going to scrap that by any means. But I wanted to show people that like there is more to do in Newcastle. There's so many food places. Like, you only have to go like a 10-minute taxi drive and whatever, and you're at the beach type thing. It's just showing how much it has to offer. So I like did that with having a lot of insight from what I already knew from Newcastle when I went there. And then I did one in Birmingham, and I took 2 of my friends who are like Birmingham food bloggers, and they guided me around, because I'm like, I only know a few of the places that you post about from time to time, but I don't know Birmingham, and I'm not, obviously I could not get away with being a local. So so that was kind of my aim for this year, was to actually just explore around the UK, like hit places like Bath, and like go to Cardiff, and like go to Edinburgh and Glasgow, and like just have a little bit of like, you know, just let's show how great the UK is, kind of thing. And then hopefully, like, I've been speaking to some tourist boards about you know, doing some like promotional work with them as well, like going over and showing how great some of the, you know, where the locals go. And I'm sure that there are programs for this and everything. I just kind of wanted to do it in my own cheap ass way, basically.
No, that's great.
Do you plan all this on your own, Kate, or do you have people behind the scenes or what?
So I do this on my own, but when I've so I recently, I think it was last September, last time I was on a plane. Yeah, last September I went to Philadelphia with the Philadelphia Tourist Board, and I brought my cameraman with me, who is a dear friend of mine. I absolutely adore him. We've just arranged to go for dinner in a couple of weeks, and I miss him so much. But I only get him on like the really big projects kind of thing, things that I know that are completely out of my, you know, basically I'm not the best editor in the world. I'm barely even average. Like, he's incredible, and he's a really good friend of mine, and like he's done a few videos of mine. He's done a couple of like KFC ones. He actually came with me to Kentucky a couple of years ago. Like, he's so great. So all the UK stuff I'd probably just do in like a vloggy style, but if I was to go like abroad, I'd probably bring him with me, because he'd just make it look so much better than what
That was a question I had on content. Like, when you first started, I actually saw one of your videos, you were eating a burrito, one of the first videos.
Oh, that's a good old one. I love that.
Yeah. When you, cause I love creating content, like the vloggy style stuff, like when I go traveling and stuff. But now, as opposed to when you first started, were you just said you obviously got a cameraman. Did you used to make all the content yourself? Did you used to edit everything yourself? And then as gradually, have you employed other people, sent it off to get edits?
Yeah, so funnily enough, I pretty much still do most of like the filming and editing myself. Like, I feel like my skills have gotten a little bit better over the years. But I started at iMovie. I used iMovie for about like 2 years, which is probably a lot longer than I should have, but I liked it and it was still working for me, so it was fine with me. But it was literally me. So like that one that you described, that was in Reading. That was Mission Burrito.
Yeah, nice.
I didn't even plan, like normally I message it, like nowadays, like, you know, I email ahead. I'm like, hi, I'm coming in. Is it all right for me to set up my camera? I literally go and bless the staff in there. Just go in like, hi, am I all right to just set up my tripod in here? And they were just like, yes, that's fine. Like, I'm still, to this day, I am a terrible vlogger. Like, I get very nervous around vlogging around other people. I find it amazing. Even like, I know people who've got like an audience of, you know, 300 people on YouTube or whatever, and they are the most confident people walking down like the middle of London High Street, people, cascades of people like either side of them, and they are just walking in, phone in hand. They're like, hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and all this, that and the other, and it looks like they've been doing it for years. You see me doing it, I will find the most quiet high street in London. I will make sure that there is not a single person on this street. I will walk down it, and I will probably do this about 2 or 3 times, because I am that nervous that I end up messing up and I have to go back to make sure to retrace my steps, so that there is at least one person coming behind, so I'm not like completely on my own. So, you know, vlogging, I still like, even after doing this for years and things, I feel more confident coming in with a bloody tripod and setting that all up, because it makes me feel more professional. Whereas if I'm, you know, there with my vlogging camera and stuff, and I'm trying to get better, but I still struggle with it. I find it amazing that some people are just so brash. Like in America, it's a lot easier because, you know, a lot of people don't kind of stare you down. But you know, in the UK, we're all so nosy, and we're all like, everyone's like looking at you,
Who is
trying to
this?
figure out
What
who
are
you are, and it's just like,
Yeah.
tell me who this girl is. Like, is she supposed to be someone? And those are the thoughts that are going through your head. Like, no, I'm just no one. Like, just go about your day. Like, stop. So yeah, I don't think it really gets any easier. I mean, sort of even with everything that I do, and I do this full time, and I'm still the one who's like trying to find the quietest high street so that I don't vlog in front of others. So
yeah, but it's what works for you, isn't it? You know, it's, if that works for you, that, you know, your videos and the way that people are watching your videos is that it's all set up, and you know, you're in a tripod, or you're kind of in a corner of a restaurant, and you do all these challenges and stuff. You know, it looks like, you know, to me when I'm watching them, it looks like you've got like a whole team, camera crew, lighting, everything else. It's like the way you've set it up, you fooled me, definitely. So,
you know, want to see the team? Here we go.
That is it. Team. Right.
Oh, and this guy. This is the
nice.
team.
That's all you need, right?
All you need, though, isn't it?
You really don't need like to have. You know, I've been to shoots before where I've had a team from their side of things. I've had a team of like 6-7 people. There's sound guys, there's producers, there's, you know, someone there with like a freaking script. You've got runners and things like that. And I'm just there like, we don't need all of this. Like, it's just me. But like, you know, it can seem quite sort of daunting when you see, you know, the really big YouTubers, and they go out and they've got their like gimbal, which, you know, a gimbal is expensive as well. Like a gimbal, so for people who don't know, a gimbal is basically like a stabilizer. So when you're vlogging and you're moving around and everything, it keeps sort of your focus like on your face and doesn't give you, you know, if you're like me and you're shaking in public, it's really good because it's with you type thing. So they're about 300 quid plus. You know, that's not cheap for something that's part of your camera. Like, you know, I feel like a camera, do a good investment, start off. I've only ever bought 2 cameras throughout the whole duration of what I've done. And one of them is my big one, and one of them is my now small one, which has ended up being better quality than my old one because I used that for about 4 years. So the quality of the smaller one actually just ended up getting better. But you know,
what make and model was that camera, just out of interest?
So this one is the Canon. I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't. So this is the typical one that I think a lot of vloggers use because that's how I found it. But it was the PowerShot G7X Mark III.
Yeah.
The reason why I got the 3 because I did have the 2, but I broke it, so that's my bad. The reason why I got the 3 is because it's got a mic port. So over the last couple of years, I've been like using microphones and stuff, because before, you know, this is how much I've kind of grown, and even then it's such small things like a microphone, you know, it's like I just used to be very vocal. So you don't need to have like the best stuff, you don't need to have a team of people, you don't even have to have, you know, any knowledge of how to edit or anything. I learned everything off of YouTube and just sussing out styles, and like I just like the style that people like Lab Bible did and Insider and BuzzFeed, and I just kind of copied them, to be honest. I didn't do anything groundbreaking.
Well, you know, like I say, but the thing is, you've developed your channel and you've made it work. You know, you're getting, like I say, crazy views, like some of the ones that you've had, you know, fairly recently that are, you know, 2 million views on Facebook and stuff, which is great. So, you know, and it's really, really good. And Kate, I really appreciate you, you know, spending your time with us today and talking through your journey and where you've come to for now, and obviously what you're planning on in the future. And we really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much for that. And again, obviously, we'll put all of your social media stuff onto these posts as well, so that, again, obviously, if you want to see Kate's challenges and what she's going to be doing and traveling the country with doing all these different things with her friends and stuff, which will be great. So we'll keep an eye on for that. So thank you, Kate. Appreciate your time. I really do. And cheers, gents. Thanks for your time as well. And it's been a really, really good podcast. I appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
See you later. It's a pleasure.
All right. Cheers. Thank you for listening, and thank you again to Kate for coming onto the show and being so open about her journey. It just shows that it doesn't need a big media production company to make your journey come true. So if you have aspirations like Kate, then just start recording now. Each and every week we'll be having more incredible guests onto our show, so please stay tuned. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment, and we'll see you next week. Take care.